this one started as I returned to my favorite bar place, and I realized, thankfully, Desmond wasn't working there this time. Instead, some new woman was there. Her name was Holly. So I went to the bar, and I said, hello, and she just says, hey, can I get you a Heineken? And I said, sure, that'd be great. And she says, we don't serve Heineken. So I snarled back, well, get me something you do have then. Then she just poured a Bud Light for me, and that was okay. And then, she kind of glares at me, and before I could say something, she looks up and says, oh no. And I said, what? And she says, Bubsy's drunk as hell and heavily armed with puns. And I said, who's Bubsy? The door swung open. That's Bubsy. It was horrible. He was a bobcat, orange and cartoony, and had the most obnoxious voice I've ever heard in my life. He comes to the bar, and he says, I'll take a shot of whiskey. What could possibly go wrong? And I said, let me guess, you're Bubsy? And then he says, that's right. Perfect memory. And then I just kind of rolled my eyes, and I was like, really? Dare I ask where you are from? And he says, oh, I take it back. So you've never heard of the Bubsy franchise? And I said, no, but I have a weird feeling you're going to tell me. Then he says, well, you see, back in my day, during the old Sega Genesis and Atari Jaguar, I was pretty big, trying to wrap up both Mario and Sonic in terms of gameplay. The problem was, it kind of sucked. People don't remember. Some do, but most don't. Then, when my big journey to the PlayStation really fell downhill. And no one remembers me since. And then, Holly says, and there's a particularly good reason for that, as she poured his drinks. And then, I said to Bubsy, well, you're just another failed video game character, but as long as you're, well, what are you doing now? Because, well, I've never heard of you. Then he says, well, truth be told, I decided to take a little revenge on the people who didn't like me, so I figured, why not become something very intimidating? I became a roller coaster designer. And I said, really? And he says, oh yeah, I mean, I never knew what I was doing the entire time, so I figured, what could possibly go wrong? After the 13 deaths of riders occurred, they fired me, but afterwards I tried being a theme park mascot for Universal Studios. And I said, what? And he says, that one didn't last too long. So I replied, well, regardless. So I say to him, really, you're trying to get your revenge out on everybody by just killing them? And he says, well, that's the best idea I've come up with. And so, there was an awkward silence there. Bubsy just kept talking about disgusting and stupid cat jokes I never knew existed. So from there, he just says to me, so, who are you? And I said, well, my name is the M Crew Dude. I review mostly bad movies and all video games. And he says, well, apparently you've never heard of my games then, if you think you're so great and everything's so bad. He says, if anything's bad, it's your judgment. And then I just kind of looked at him, and I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, I just kept drinking. And then out of surprise, Bigby Wolf actually stopped by just for a chat, I suppose. So he came by, and then Bubsy says, well, look what the cat dragged in. Bigby doesn't take much from that, so he just says, hey, I'm here for a drink. Who are you two strangers? And then I said, hey, I'm the M Crew Dude. It's good to meet you. I'm a big fan of what you've done, Bigby. Then he just says, yeah, well, just make better choices next time. And I said, okay. And from there, Bubsy keeps making fun of him a bit, but apparently he had enough. So then, he took one of the shot glasses, smashed it into his face, cutting him up a bit, and then Bubsy did that stupid little beat-up cartoon dust cloud, and then the two of them got into a fight. It was actually pretty entertaining for about 3 seconds till he snapped his neck, and I was like, is that necessary? And he goes, what? He's not a fable, so what's the big deal? I said, well, he was in a game about fables, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. And he just goes, yeah, why don't you just... Yeah, so I just left, never looked back. I kind of wish Desmond was working there now. I never remember the outro I use for these videos. That's typically because I never write it down. So I keep forgetting the outro I use because I never write it down. And that's the truth of the matter.